Tonight, President Muhammadu Buhari expresses worry over the state of insecurity in Nigeria, issues fresh directive to security agencies to rescue all those in captivity across the country. We will no longer tolerate attacks on our men and facilities in the southeast. That's coming from the Inspector General of Police, Usman Alkali Baba, as he orders immediate deployment of additional assets to the region. Independent National Electoral Commission presents a 4-year strategic plan as well as its 2023 election project plan. The Commission is confident the documents will help deliver free and fair elections in the future. And U.S. President Joe Biden announces an additional $800 million security assistance for Ukraine, as he says the war is now at a critical point.
On business news tonight, Central Bank Governor says foreign exchange policies are tailored to address countries' unique challenges.
On sports news tonight, Manchester United appoint Ajax Football Club Amsterdam boss Erik ten Hag as their new manager on a 3-year deal.
And from the nation's capital, 3 persons died from Lassa fever, with 20 others hospitalized in Ibaji local government area of Kogi State.
President Muhammadu Buhari has given marching orders to the country's security agencies to rescue all those in captivity across the country and advance the acquisition of intelligence. The National Security Advisor, Major General Babagana Munguno, told State House correspondents after the National Security Council meeting, chaired by the President, that the President is not happy with the prevailing security situation in the country. According to him, the last straw was the recent attack along the Abuja-Kaduna train track, leading to the killing of some passengers and the kidnapping of others. Our correspondent Gloria Omezoke reports.
This is the first meeting of the National Security Council this year, but not the first time the President would issue fresh directives to the security agencies to end the protracted insecurity challenge. After nearly 4 hours of conversations behind closed doors, the National Security Advisor discloses the President's displeasure over the state of the nation's security, which has exacerbated after the Abuja-Kaduna train attack.
He's not happy about this situation. He's made it very, very clear. The first assignment he's given to the security agencies, especially the armed forces and the police, is to rescue those that are in captivity, not just those that have been captured, but that were captured during the last train incident, but those that have been in captivity in other parts of the country.
The insurgents may have surrendered in droves, but that action has apparently not led to a reduction of attacks, according to the NSA. Human intelligence and technology, he insists, is the answer.
Unless the wider society, right down to the local governments, are willing to give the type of information that is needed to block the activities of these criminals, this situation will continue to linger.
Weeks ago, Governor Nasir El-Rufai of Kaduna State affirmed that the whereabouts of the terrorists are not hidden, but swooping down on them might result in offending international laws.
We know where the camps are. We have the maps. We know everything. We have their phone numbers. We listen to their conversations sometimes. But the military were afraid of bombing them and then facing ICC.
Even if they say we know where they are, that in itself is already a problem. Because once you say it, whether it is true or false, the person who has your people in captivity will move to another location. It's just as simple as that.
Now, the complexity of the nation's security challenge remains unsolved now that the focus has moved from the northeast to the northwest and the north central. Really, what is the success rating of this fight on the other troubled regions? And to what extent is the federal government willing to go in this war? And exactly what technology would be deployed? These are concerns Nigerians are hoping for answers. From the presidential villa, Gloria Umezuki, Channels Television News.
Staying with security, at least 9 persons have been killed by suspected Boko Haram insurgents following an attack on Gaidam community in Gaidam local government area of Yobe State. Gaidam is the hometown of the Inspector General of Police, Usman Alkali Baba, which is over 150 kilometers away from the state capital. The locals told Channels Television that the suspected insurgents came by foot last night, moved straight to a drinking joint located at Kwari Ward, and attacked the people with machete, killing 9 persons and injuring 2 others. The military was said to have responded, but the attackers had already fled before their arrival. This attack is coming barely a year after a similar attack in the city left several residents displaced. Meanwhile, the Inspector General of Police, Usman Alkali Baba, has condemned in strong terms the recent murder of police officers in line of duty in the southeast of the country and the spate of attacks on police facilities and other operational assets in other parts of the country. A statement by the force spokesman says the IGP has ordered the immediate deployment of additional operational assets to complement officers and men attached to Operation Restore Peace in the Southeast and other operations with the aim of flushing out criminal elements who hide under the guise of aggrieved citizens to perpetrate criminal acts. The IGP warns that attacks on police officers in line of duty will no longer be tolerated under whatever guise, as the force holds the lives of its personnel sacrosanct. He says such unwarranted attacks would be strictly treated in accordance with extant laws, just as he reiterated the commitment of the force to the protection of lives and property of Nigerians nationwide. Former President Olusegun Obasanjo, however, holds a different view on how the nation should be policed. A former president is aligning with those canvassing for the creation of state police as a better option than community policing. Chief Obasanjo gave his opinion on the matter when he hosted the leadership of the National Association of Ex-Local Government Chairmen in Nigeria, in Abeokuta, the Ogun State capital. According to him, the situation in the country should be of concern to everyone, particularly terrorism, which is beyond community policing. He says the focus should instead be on state police. Politics now, and the nation's electoral umpire is making plans not just for next year's general election, but for the next 4 years. A commission which presented a strategic plan in Abuja today says the plan will provide electoral officials the needed support to deliver free and fair elections, as well as register political parties and monitor their operations. According to INEC, the new document is guided by findings from the review of the 2017 to 2021 strategic plan, which lifespan expired in December 2021.
The chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, is accompanied by some national and resident electoral commissioners as he unveils the 2022 to 2026 strategic plan and the election project plan for the 2023 general elections here in the nation's capital, Abuja. The documents, which the Commission says will guide the operations of INEC in the next 5 years and draw lessons from the successes and challenges experienced with the implementation of the 2017 to 2021 strategic plan. Armed with those lessons, the Commission says it is determined to conduct the 2023 general elections despite the rising security concerns and attacks on its personnel.
We are also aware of the security challenges and their impact on the electoral process. We will continue to engage highly and intensely with the security agencies to ensure the safety of our personnel and materials, accredited observers and the media, and above all, the voters. Clearly, these are challenging times, but we are determined that election must hold in 2023.
Some of the priority areas in the strategic plan include resource mobilization and funding of electoral activities, security and electoral risk management. While commending INEC for the strategic plans, members of the civil society organizations want the electoral umpire to fine-tune all our technologies before the 2023 general elections.
But we will challenge you when there is need to challenge you. But we work with you when we need to work with you. This is not going to be a time. 2023 is not a time to say beavers are not working. We will be looking at the different departments and holding them to account. If the machines are not working, we will blame those who are in charge of the machines.
It is one thing to unveil a plan, but quite another to implement it. Many here hope that the Commission will follow these plans and adapt same to the country's dynamic political environment to deliver a free, fair and credible election in 2023.
In the meantime, the governor of Rivers State and PDP presidential hopeful Nyesom Wike is asking the party to make him its sole candidate to wipe out insecurity and hunger in the nation. During a meeting to woo delegates in Taraba State, Jalingo, the governor said, Jalingo in Taraba State, the governor said he is the right man for the job, but he will work for anyone should he not emerge victorious at the primaries.
I want to tell you, I can face All Progressive Congress. I can face the government. With me, nobody can dig us out in 2023. Of course, you know, they tried it several in Rivers State. We said it will not happen, and it didn't happen. If you give me a mandate on the 28th and 29th of this May, go home and sleep with your two eyes closed. And let me say clearly, yes, I know I will win, but perhaps I don't win, I'm going to work hard for this party. It is not about me, it is about the party. We have suffered, Nigerians have suffered, and we must come and tell ourselves the simple truth. If PDP wants to win the election in 2023, there must be individuals you must look. That, look, if we go with this person, there's likelihood that we will win. If we go with this person, we will win, not likelihood. With me, PDP will win the election in 2023. What this country requires today is a leader that's courageous, is a leader that's fearless, a leader that has the capacity, and a leader that's committed to this party and the nation.
His Taraba State counterpart, Mr. Darius Ishako, advised PDP supporters to remain united so as to bring back the party to power at the center.
Party faithfuls, use your vote wisely. We are very happy that PDP has woken up. We're on our 2 feet. And our party will do all that it can to make sure we produce not only the candidate, but the president. Amen. We need a change in Nigeria. We need a change in Nigeria. That is it. You should answer me. When I say we need a change, we need a change. Positive change.
In part two, after the break, Executive Director of Policy and Legal Advocacy Center, Clement Wankwo, joins us to discuss the latest developments in the nation's political landscape. That's in a moment. Do join us again. Welcome back. If it has joined us, you're watching the news at 10 live on Channels Television Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. President Muhammadu Buhari expresses worry over the state of insecurity in Nigeria, issues fresh directive to security agencies to rescue all those in captivity across the country. We will no longer tolerate attacks on our men and facilities in the southeast. That's coming from the Inspector General of Police, Usman Alkali Baba, as he orders immediate deployment of additional assets to the region. Independent National Electoral Commission presents a 4-year strategic plan as well as its 2023 election project plan. The Commission is confident the document will help deliver free and fair elections in the future. And tech giant Google says Nigeria's GDP is set to witness a massive boost to the tune of $10.1 billion. We continue with politics. The main opposition party, the People's Democratic Party, has again extended its sale of nomination and expression of interest forms to tomorrow, Friday, April 22nd. The party also extended the last day for the submission of already completed forms to Monday, April 25th. In a statement by the PDP National Publicity Secretary, Debo Ologunagba, the decision comes after consideration of various issues and concerns of the party. New dates have also been fixed for the screening, as well as appeals arising from the screening of aspirants for various positions. The party adds that under the updated timetable, the 3-man ad hoc ward congress has been fixed for Saturday, April 30, while the local government area national delegates congresses will now hold on Thursday, May 5th. Let's get more insight into the latest developments in the nation's political landscape. I'm being joined now by Mr. Clement Nwankwo, the Executive Director of Policy and Legal Advocacy Center. Thank you for joining us on the News at 10.
Thank you very much.
Let's begin with INEC's strategic plan. It's a 4-year plan. How do you expect this to play out, particularly in next year's general election, and does it have enough time to do so?
I think so. I think it's coming within the same time frame as the last one did come through, which guided us through the elections from 2015 to 2019. This is 10 months before the general elections, and I think that when you look at the strategic plan and also look at the election project plan, you get a sense that INEC has reviewed what happened with the last strategic plan and the project plan, and has now come up with guidelines leading that will lead to the 2023 elections, but even beyond that, right on to the elections that comes after 2023, which would be in 2027. It has captured several of the issues that are often recurring with elections, including the issues related to having the right legal framework for elections, the preparations for elections, the actual implementation of elections, and how to manage parties, candidates, and indeed stakeholders involved with elections. So I do think it's nothing new to INEC, and the hope is that having planned, the implementation would now become the next steps to make sure that we have a proper implementation of the plan.
Nigerians have been gaping at the recently announced fees for nomination forms by political parties, and I know that you also have, your opinion on this. Do you think it reflects present realities?
I think the damaging thing with the fees that have been prescribed is the tendency to exclude. Democracy is about participation, and we do have significant segments of our population who continue to be excluded from politics. We have women who have been excluded, we have young people, and now the added factor, indeed, it's always been there, of excluding those who do not have the finances to run elections. If you look at the Electoral Act, it prescribes the limits to election expenses. Now, this ab initio at the beginning already begins to violate the Electoral Act because it means that candidates have already started spending, even if they are not yet the chosen ones in the parties. They have started running for elections as aspirants. They become candidates. And when you calculate all of these expenditures, beginning right now from whether it's 40 million by the main opposition party or 100 million for the ruling party for the highest office in the land, and measure that against what is indicated in the Electoral Act, you already begin to see that portions of the law that should guide elections are already beginning to be violated. But the most important thing is that you're excluding significant proportion of citizens from participating in process, young people, women, and when you look at all of those, or most of those who are on elections, you find that most of them have been involved in government, have held offices, some remain in office and continue to participate in the process leading up to the primaries, which raises very serious concern about how serious the business of government is being taken.
So I hear you when you talk about, inclusivity, and I'm wondering, with these numbers that are flying all over the place, what impact they will have on the nation's democracy, which we're trying to fix.
What we're looking for are people who can contribute to this nation's development, who can help to build our democracy, not people who have so much money that they would be able to go into office and continue to perpetuate the rule of the rich over the rest of the country. I think that none of these two main parties, who are the ones that we can see very clearly, have announced the amounts that they have indicated to contest for office. None of these two parties are helping to build participation. None of them are helping to build a sustainable democracy by the way that they're excluding very brilliant people, very committed citizens, patriots who want to run elections and contribute to development. None of these two main parties are contributing to this. If anything, they are indeed derogating on the right of citizens to participate in the government of their country. And I think it's very sad for our democracy that we have seen these levels of huge demands on citizens who want to participate in elections, to buy forms and to contest in the parties to be candidates for elections.
Well, we still have many months ahead of us, to see how things play out. Thank you again, Clement Nwankwo, Executive Director, Policy and Legal Advocacy Center, for speaking with us.
Thank you.
Well, Terry Kumi standing by in our Abuja studio with more on the news at 10. Hi, Terry.
Well, hello, Amarachi. I don't know about you, but 100 million does something to my ears I can't even explain. But let's leave politics now and talk about Kogi State, where residents of Ibaji local government area have been thrown into mourning following the death of 3 persons from Lassa fever. As a result, no fewer than 20 patients are currently being treated at the Irora Teaching Hospital in Edo State. The situation is reported to have caused panic in the area, where there is no functional hospital to take care of the disease, resulting in their being transferred to Irora Special Hospital in Edo State. The special advisor to the governor on health matters, Mr. Abu Kikiri, also confirmed the outbreak of the disease in the state. Now, about 200 persons are cooling their heels in the custody of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA, following a raid of Diplomatic Suite Hotel Asokoro, Abuja by the agency. The hotel has also been sealed after a joint operation with men of the Department of State Services to stop a cannabis party and the launch of a suspected new psychoactive drink. A statement by the agency notes that the attendees, including 3 young ladies who organized the hemp party, are currently being profiled and interviewed, while bottles of the new drink have been taken for lab analysis. The hotel was raided last night following intelligence that some youths were planning to hold a hemp party at the hotel. Quantities of cannabis sativa were recovered from the pockets and bags of those arrested at the party. Meanwhile, the Nigerian Governors Forum has expressed serious concern over the rising cases of drug abuse and rising insecurity in the country, as the governors vow to continue to support the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency. A statement signed by the Nigeria Governors Forum chairman, Mr. Kayode Fayemi, after a teleconference with members on Wednesday, promised to support the anti-drug agency with logistics and also bring it into the State Security Council meetings. The governors also promised other forms of support, including the provision of lands for the NDLEA to build barracks across the country. Well, still ahead on the news at 10, tech giant Google says Nigeria's GDP is set to witness a massive boost as its Equiano submarine cable lands in Lagos. Join us again. To the news at 10. The House of Representatives Ad Hoc Committee on the State of the Country's Refineries is summoning the Minister of State for Petroleum and the Group Managing Director of the NNPC for failing to honor its invitations. Chairman of the committee, Ganiyu Johnson, while issuing the summons, stated that the NNPC GMD and the Minister of State for Petroleum have ignored repeated calls to appear before the committee. The lawmakers are questioning why contracts have been awarded to rehabilitate the refineries, yet they are still not functioning, and are further requesting the Minister of State for Petroleum and the NNPC GMD to provide details of all contracts for rehabilitation of the refineries from 2012 till date. The Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation NNPC and Shell Nigeria Exploration and Production Company Limited SNEPCO have inaugurated a state-of-the-art Information and Communication Technology Center at the Federal University of Petroleum Resources, Efurun in Delta State. The 100-seater one-story building, built and equipped by the NNPC and SNEPCO partnership, seeks to promote research, teaching and learning in a conducive environment. Delta State Governor Dr. Ifeanyi Okowa, who was represented by the State Commissioner of Science and Technology, describes the project as commendable, which would also go a long way in expanding the capacity of the students and staff of the university to compete locally and globally.
Standing tall at the premises of the Federal University of Petroleum Resources, Efurun, in Delta State, is the 100-seater, one-story building ICT Center. This structure is part of the 33 ICT projects that the NNPC SNEPCO partnership has delivered across Nigeria since 2007. The event begins with a courtesy call on the school management by the representatives of the sponsoring partners, with the presentation of a recognition award to the Managing Director of Shell Nigeria Exploration and Production Company. The NNPC representative explains the essence of the project.
This project is aimed at providing viable information communication technology skills and opportunities to the youth in Delta State and its environs. And the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Then the ICT Center is officially inaugurated by the Delta State Governor, represented by his Commissioner for Science and Technology.
I see it as a helping hand to the state government, knowing fully well that the state government has interest in ICT.
The center boasts of 100 computers with licensed software, a Wi-Fi lounge, computer laboratories, conference rooms, a lecture hall, office spaces, and alternative power supply. The project showcases the importance SNEPCO places on education, a key area in its social investment activities.
For you to develop any single nation, you've got to focus on education. And if you look at where we are today, digitalization and technology is playing a key role. And one way to help develop the capacity for the young ones in school these days is to have ICT present in schools.
Direct beneficiaries of the project highlight the positive impact on their learning process.
I believe students who have been craving to get into the tech ecosystem could leverage on this, especially the upcoming ones, the 100 levels and 200 level students. So they'll be able to leverage on this facility to be able to start their career path.
In addition to the ICT functionality, the center has a deliberate design to promote good citizenship, value orientation, and energy sustainability through the integration of other features.
Well, that's all from the nation's capital. Back to you, Amarachi.
Thanks, Terry. And back here in Lagos, tech giant Google says Nigeria's GDP is set to witness a massive boost to the tune of $10.1 billion and the creation of 1.6 million jobs by 2025. Director Google West Africa, Juliet Ehinwan, who made this known today at the landing point of the state-of-the-art Equiano subsea cable in Lagos, Nigeria, says it will become a critical element in meeting Nigeria's current and future international connectivity demands. Also speaking at the landing point is Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu, who said this will firmly position Nigeria as the regional connectivity and content hub for West Africa. Our technology correspondent, Victor Matthias, reports.
Thank you very much.
It's a one-of-a-kind gathering of players in Nigeria's tech ecosystem, from government and private sector, the traditional institution amongst others, here to witness the virtual landing of the Equiano subsea cable in Lagos, Nigeria.
Very quickly, I'd like to specially recognize...
Coming from Portugal and received in Nigeria by West Indian Ocean Cable Company, the cable is said to have brought good tidings to Nigeria's tech ecosystem and economy at large.
Equiano's contribution to the digital economy means that by 2025, real GDP is forecast to be $10.1 billion higher than it otherwise would have been without the cable. Increased internet penetration is also projected to boost job creation. Between 2020 and 2025, Equiano should indirectly create 1.6 million new jobs, equivalent to 330,000 per year over the assessment period.
Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu and Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, Nii Adebayo, welcomed the development.
The Equiano cable landing certainly, we believe, will change completely the digital economy and the digital transformation of not only Lagos, but indeed Nigeria. We've heard that this will be 20 times bigger and faster than the existing capabilities that we have in our country.
We recognize that this is a significant contribution towards the growth of the Nigerian economy, and we remain committed to working with you to bring to life our vision of sustainable and inclusive growth of the economy.
When live, Google says the subsea cable will increase internet speeds by a factor of 6, reduce internet retail prices by 21%, increase internet penetration by 6 percentage points, boost GDP by $10.1 billion by 2025, and create 1.6 million jobs, and also save 2.8 million tons of CO2 emissions per annum. Victor Matthias, Channels Television News.
Let's get more business news now. Here's Anne Mawudu.
Thanks a lot, Amarachi. Hello and welcome to Business News. Let's begin with the reactions from the Central Bank Governor Godwin Emefiele on the World Bank's warning that imports restrictions and foreign exchange policies of the central bank are the main drivers of inflation in Nigeria. The CBN governor says the FX policies adopted are tailored to address the challenges facing the country. He also made this known at the sidelines of the 2022 spring meetings of the IMF World Bank Group taking place in Washington, D.C., the United States. Lafarge Africa plc has declared a dividend of 32.2 billion naira at 2 naira per share for the year ended 2021. These figures were announced by the Chairman Board of Directors, Mr. Adebode Adefioye, at its 63rd Annual General Meeting held at the Eko Hotel and Suites right here in Lagos. In November 2021, an interim dividend of 1 naira per share had been paid to shareholders, the first in the history of the company.
For the 63rd time, Lafarge Africa plc holds its annual general meeting to review the company's performance for the year ended December 31st, 2021. The company experienced a year of strong growth, which, according to the chairman, is mainly attributed to increased government expenditure on infrastructure and improved real estate investment by private and commercial home builders. From the company's financial highlight, Revenue increased by 27% to close at 293 billion naira. Earnings before interest and tax up by nearly 43% at 65.1 billion naira. Profit after taxation for the year was up 65.4% and closed at 51 billion naira.
The board has proposed a final dividend of 100 kobo per share to make the total dividend for 2021 to be 200 kobo or 2 naira, payable in respect of the year ended 31st December 2021.
The company's increased sale revenue, among others, resulted in improved margins, and they intend to sustain the momentum.
We are looking to increase our capacity and be able to be more and more present and visible in the market, while we are still maintaining our strategy towards clean environment, gender diversity and inclusions, as well as the focusing on our community service and the corporate social responsibilities.
We're in a very strong position to continue to invest in our business, to grow our business, to drive many efficiency initiatives, and just to make sure that our products are available and will continue to deliver quality.
The shareholders are happy with the company's performance and the dividend payout.
The company is gradually moving to success. We can see this through the dividend payment to shareholders. We have a total dividend payment of 2 naira for the year, and even the earnings. Our earnings moved from 191 kobo to 317 kobo.
The year ended 2021 appeared to have been a good one for Lafarge Africa PLC, and the board and management remain optimistic for the future.
The Minister of Agriculture and Rural Development, Mohamed Mahmoud, has been speaking on some of the benefits of its partnership with donor agencies like the World Bank and the International Fund for Agricultural Development. Speaking during the inauguration of members of some committees to drive the federal government's food security plan in Abuja, Dr. Mahmoud explains that some of the benefits include economic diversification, import substitution, food security, and job creation. We head to the equities market now. It is on the roll as the NSE All-Share Index continued movements into positive territory as yesterday. Willie Bong has the details.
Hello and welcome to the Stock Market Report. All eyes on the NGX as it sustained yesterday's positive trend despite the marginal drop at intraday. All key indexes were in the green. The banking index made a rebound today, making its way from the basement to the main floor at the close of trading. And yes, thanks to the surge in stocks of GTCO and Zenith Bank, which were largely responsible for the sector nosedive yesterday. And Lafarge gave a big boost to the industrial goods index. Let's take a look at the gainers charts. Berger Paints leading that counter up 10%. Now a big hit for Etana PLC. Its share price also popped by 10% today, same as yesterday, since the oil company announced the mandatory takeover of 1.3 million shares by Preline Limited. It gained 55 kobo to close at 6 naira 5 kobo, and it's closely followed by a 9.9% rise in O&O. Also, O&O weighed in on the overall volume of shares traded, which was lower still today by 30%. Numbers are coming out stronger than expected. No apparent bumps on the road to the 26 trillion naira mark, or is there? And that's the Stock Market Report. I'm Will Ibong. Back to you.
Thank you so much for watching Business News Tonight. I'm Anne Mwawadu. The rest of the news at 10 continues now with Amarachi.
Thanks a lot, Anne. The funeral rites for Professor Grace Alale Williams, Nigeria's first female vice-chancellor, have been concluded in Lagos, southwest Nigeria. The event, which held at the Cathedral Church of Christ, was attended by members of her family, friends and associates. A sermon was delivered by the former provost of the church, Reverend Yinka Omololu, who draws attention to God's reward of a heavenly home after a life well spent. Our correspondent Olumide Macaulay reports.
The overcast sky over the Cathedral Church of Christ, Marina, Lagos, precludes a somber event about to hold inside. The funeral service of a national treasure, Professor Grace Alele Williams. Just before the start, this fanfare salutes her memory. Once within, family and friends await the reception of the body, arriving in short order. And after hymns, epistle and gospel, the sermon is delivered by Reverend Yinka Molulu, which he titles, Going Home.
In God's house, which is in an actual place called heaven, there are many mansions, there are many homes. And that gives me great comfort that I can know for sure that Jesus has already prepared a place, a mansion in heaven for Professor Grace Awani Alele Williams.
More prayers are offered, leading to the Eucharist.
We break this bread to share in the body of Christ.
The service is crowned by a tribute from Old Girls of Queen's College, Lagos, one of Professor Grace Alele Williams' alma mater. The casket leaves the church service for interment. A family member recalls fond memories.
She was my husband's older sister. My husband was 2 years older than her. And my goodness, where do I start? She was the nicest sister-in-law anyone can have. And I miss her very much.
The family Professor Grace Alele Williams leaves behind can take added comfort that a good name endures, is better than riches, and transcends generations. Olumide Macaulay, Channels Television News.
May she indeed rest. To the foreign scene now, Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky says his country will need approximately $7 billion per month due to severe economic losses caused by the war, an increase from $5 billion Kyiv previously said was needed each month. He said this in his address to a forum of the World Bank and IMF, where he accused Russia's blockade of Ukrainian Black Sea port cities of making it impossible for the country to export food supplies such as wheat. It comes after U.S. President Joe Biden announced an additional $800 million in security assistance package for Ukraine. Simon Pusey has more in Around the World in 5.
Good evening and welcome to the Channel Studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. Vladimir Putin has ordered his troops not to storm the Azovstal steel plant, where the last group of Ukrainian fighters in Mariupol is holding out. The Russian president told them, in his words, to seal it up so even a fly cannot escape. He also said Russia now has control of the strategic port city. But an intelligence update by a top US defense think tank says Russia has only made minor gains there in the past 24 hours. Meanwhile, Moscow said they were still waiting for Ukraine's response to Russia's latest written proposal in peace talks between the two sides. The Spanish and Danish prime ministers have visited the Ukrainian capital of Kiev in a show of support for the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. Pedro Sanchez and Mette Frederiksen arrived earlier and were met by the Ukrainian president in central Kyiv. The parties then discussed further support for the Ukrainians and the prosecution of war crimes and human rights violations. Dozens of people have been killed or injured in 4 explosions across Afghanistan. The first explosion tore through a Shia mosque in the city of Mazar-Sharif. A health official said at least 11 people were killed and more than 30 injured. The Islamic State group admitted the attack, saying it had remotely detonated a booby-trapped bag when the building was packed with worshippers. The group called the attack part of an ongoing global campaign to avenge the deaths of its former leader and spokesman. The president of the World Bank has said the world faces a human catastrophe from a food crisis arising from Russia's invasion of Ukraine. He said that there could be a huge 37% jump in food prices. This would hit the poor hardest, who will eat less and have less money for anything else such as schooling. Mr. Malpass, who leads the institution charged with global alleviation of poverty, said the impact on the poor made it an unfair kind of crisis that was true also of COVID.
One of the key transmission mechanisms is the shortages of food, of energy, and of fertilizer. The fertilizer and energy are critical for the crop cycle, so they're building on each other and creating a food insecurity crisis that will last at least months and probably into next year. Food prices are up already 37% year over year. There's been a shift in relative prices with food up more than CPI. That's significant because it measures how much it hits the poor.
The Chinese embassy in South Africa has donated R1 million, the equivalent of $66,000, toward the flood relief effort, an amount some have labelled as a joke. Chinese Ambassador Chen Xiaodong said the donation was part of its efforts to support South African people affected by the disaster in KwaZulu-Natal province. But many on social media have pointed out how small the amount is. More than 450 people have died in the devastating floods. Infrastructure has been destroyed in several parts of the province, and the government has declared a nationwide state of disaster. The San Francisco Bay will soon have a new fossil fuel-free ferry floating in its waters, propelled completely by hydrogen fuel cells. The aptly named Sea Change is a 70-foot, 75-passenger ferry that will service multiple stops along San Francisco's waterfront. The Sea Change marks another industry exploring fuel cells, as the auto and commercial trucking sector, as well as rail and pleasure boating, are also developing such vehicles. Advocates say that hydrogen fuel cells are cleaner than other carbon-cutting methods, as they only emit water and heat.
This is going to be the next standard, is fuel cell-driven vessels. They're clean, they're efficient, and they make sense economically on scale.
And finally, Britain's Coldstream Guards have performed Happy Birthday to mark the 96th birthday of Queen Elizabeth. The ceremony took place during the changing of the guard at Windsor Castle. The monarch's birthday was also marked by a gun salute in London's Hyde Park. And 2 photos were released showing the Queen dressed in a long, dark green coat standing between 2 white ponies. She will spend her birthday in Sandringham in Norfolk. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the Channel studios in Lagos.
Thanks a lot, Simon. Sports news is next. Here's Ayotunde Balogun.
Thank you so much, Amarachi. We start off with football. In the Nigeria Professional Football League, MFM FC have dropped to the bottom of the table after a shocking 2-0 loss at home to Wiki Tourist at the Teslim Balogun Stadium in Lagos. Abubakar Aliu's second-minute goal and Solomon Chugozim's effort 3 minutes from regulation condemned MFM to their 4th home defeat. Wiki Tourists are now 9th with 34 points. Meanwhile, Heartland have boosted their chances of surviving the drop after a stunning Plateau United 1-0, courtesy of a 16th-minute goal by Chukwudi Nwaudu at the Dan Anyam Stadium in Owerri. Leonard Ugochukwu scored the winning goal in the 4th minute as Sunshine Stars pegged back leaders Rivers United at the Ondo State Sports Complex in Akure. Eyimba thrashed Kano Pillars in Aba with striker Victor Mboma scoring a brace. Wisdom Fernando scored twice as champions Akwa United went goal crazy in a 6-1 demolition of Nasarawa United at the Godswill Pabio Stadium in Uyo. In England, Manchester United have appointed Ajax boss Erik ten Hag as their new manager. The 52-year-old will take over from the interim boss Ralf Rangnick at the end of the season on a 3-year deal, which can be extended by a year. Ten Hag will become United's 5th permanent manager since Sir Alex Ferguson retired in 2013. A 23-time Grand Slam winner Serena Williams and 7-time Formula One world champion Lewis Hamilton have joined Martin Broughton's bid to buy Premier League club Chelsea FC. Williams and Hamilton have pledged an estimated £10 million each to the bid. Broughton's consortium includes World Athletics President Sebastian Coe and wealthy investors from around the world. And Stephanie Frappart will make history when she becomes the first woman to referee the Men's French Cup final after being handed the game by the French Football Federation. Frappart will take charge of the match between Nice and Nantes at the Stade de France in Paris on May the 7th. The 38-year-old Frappart, who said she was happy and proud to be appointed, was the first woman to referee a Ligue 1 match back in 2019. And that's Sports News.
Thanks, Ayotunde. And the main news again. President Muhammadu Buhari today expressed worry over the state of insecurity in Nigeria. The president, who also issued a fresh directive to security agencies to rescue all those in captivity across the country, was speaking after a meeting with security chiefs in the country. And we also brought you a report that tech giant Google today said Nigeria's GDP is set to witness a massive boost at its Equiano submarine cable lands in Lagos. That'll be all on News at 10 tonight. Thanks for watching. I'm Amarachi Ubani. Good night.